Okay, let's jump right into an incredibly dark and twisted explainer, where public perception and private reality violently collide. We are looking at a case that completely captivated the nation. One that honestly reads like a thriller, but is unfortunately a very real tragedy. Today, we're dissecting the timeline, the evidence, and the courtroom strategies surrounding the Kouri Richins case. We absolutely have to start with this totally jarring question. Did she intentionally poison her husband and then turn around and write a book on grief? I mean, the sheer, unimaginable irony of a convicted murderer writing a children's book on coping with loss is exactly what made this story explode into a national headline. It really forces us to ask how someone could commit such a horrific act and then just step right into the spotlight playing the role of a healing parent. This isn't just about a crime, right? It's about the construction of a public facade so brazen that it literally defies belief.
What's truly chilling here is how totally innocent and composed she sounded while promoting her self-published book, Are You With Me?, on a local television show back in April of 2023. She sat right there on camera, telling the world she wrote this picture book to help her 3 young sons navigate the loss of their father, Kouri Richins. She spoke about grief, about healing, and this was just weeks before law enforcement arrived to arrest her for his murder. But, as you'd expect, that public facade came completely crashing down. On March 17, 2026, after a really tense trial, a jury found Kouri Richins guilty on all charges, and that includes the aggravated murder of her 39-year-old husband, Eric. The whole shebang. She was also convicted of attempted aggravated murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. So to understand how a mother of 3 ended up facing life in prison, we really have to unpack the layers of deceit the prosecutors presented to the jury. All right, let's move to Section 1, Motives and Millions in Debt. It's like looking at 2 completely different lives. There was this stark juxtaposition between Kouri's perceived success and her actual financial standing. To her friends and family, she was this savvy real estate agent, running her own realty business and flipping up to 3 houses at a time. But inside the courtroom, a forensic accountant painted a drastically different picture. Her business was completely imploding. She was trapped in this relentless debt cycle, leaving her several $1,000,000 in the hole. So the crucial point here is that Eric knew something was terribly wrong with their finances. Early on, they had signed a strict prenuptial agreement. But by 2019, prosecutors proved Kouri had fraudulently executed a $250,000 home equity line of credit, basically stealing from Eric's accounts. When Eric discovered the theft, he actually secretly met with an estate planner and created a living trust. He intentionally named his sister Katie as the trustee, explicitly to protect his assets and his 3 sons from Kouri if anything happened to him. He legally locked her out. And if financial ruin wasn't enough, this desperation was compounded by a years-long illicit affair. The jury got to see scores of affectionate messages between Kouri and her paramour. In one message, sent roughly 2 weeks before her husband died, she actively wished for Eric to just disappear. She wrote, "If he could just go away, life would be so perfect." Her paramour even testified that she had once casually asked him if he had ever killed anybody. The prosecution used all of this to establish a massive emotional motive, right alongside the financial one. Now combine that motive with her digital footprint, and the picture becomes unbelievably grim. In the year following Eric's death, Kouri's phone history revealed searches for lethal doses of fentanyl, worries about whether the FBI can recover deleted messages, and literally Googling if poisoning shows up on a death certificate. I mean, come on. That completely shattered any attempt her defense made to portray her as just an innocent, grieving widow looking for answers. Moving on to Section 2, a lethal timeline. We really have to map out the exact sequence of events here because it shows just how deliberate and calculated this was. Get this. 10 days after Eric's life insurance policy went into effect, Kouri gives him a sandwich on Valentine's Day. Eric immediately breaks out in hives, has to use his son's EpiPen, and later tells his friends he legitimately believed his wife was trying to poison him. Shortly after that failed attempt, Kouri goes to her housekeeper and explicitly asks for stronger drugs. She called it the Michael Jackson stuff. Then, on the night of March 3rd into March 4th, she makes Eric a celebratory Moscow Mule cocktail. Hours later, he's found unresponsive in their bed. 5. That number is the stark, unassailable medical reality of this case. When the autopsy results came back, the medical examiner revealed Eric had 15 nanograms per milliliter of illicit fentanyl in his blood. To put that into perspective, fentanyl deaths have been recorded at levels as low as 3 nanograms. Eric was given 5 times the lethal dose. But honestly, what might be the most disturbing part of this entire explainer is what happened literally the very next day. While her husband lay in the morgue, Kouri was busy finalizing a massive real estate transaction. She officially closed on a $3.9 million 20,000 square foot mansion. According to investigators, Eric had vehemently argued against buying this place before his death. Yet, Kouri forged ahead, seemingly unbothered by the fact she was a brand new widow. 2 days later, she even got into a physical fight with Eric's sister over access to the family safe. Okay, let's dive into Section 3, the murder trial. So under the authority of the court, investigators eventually uncovered just a mountain of digital forensics. The most damning testimony of all came from a housekeeper with a criminal past who actually admitted on the stand that she sold Kouri $900 worth of fentanyl pills on 2 separate occasions leading up to Eric's death. Cell phone data even placed the housekeeper's phone near the pickup locations on dates that perfectly align with the poisoning attempts. It's like a giant puzzle, and all the pieces were snapping together perfectly. The contrast between the two sides in the courtroom was wild. The prosecution systematically called nearly 40 witnesses over 13 days. We're talking family members, paramours, drug dealers, forensic experts. They built this overwhelming wall of evidence. And the defense? Well, they tried to cast doubt through cross-examination, maybe suggesting Eric accidentally took a laced THC gummy or had secret affairs. But when it was their turn to actually present a case, they abruptly rested. They didn't call a single witness to the stand. It was a huge gamble to just call the state's bluff and hope for reasonable doubt. But it didn't work. The jury took less than 3 hours to convict her. Which brings us to Section 4, the devastating aftermath. Now the legal system moves into its final phase on a date that is just layered with tragedy. The judge explicitly denied a motion from the defense to delay the sentencing, ruling that the victims absolutely deserved a speedy disposition. So Kouri faces sentencing on May 13th, 2026. This is incredibly heavy, you guys, because it lands on the exact day that should have been a celebration of Eric's 44th birthday.
In preparation for that sentencing, prosecutors submitted a memo urging life without parole. They included statements from Eric and Kouri's 3 sons, and you really just have to let these heartbreaking words sink in. Her oldest, who is now 13, told the court he doesn't miss his mother at all, and he's absolutely terrified she will come after him and his brothers if she's ever released.
Her middle child, who's 11 now, shared similarly devastating sentiments. He completely called out his mother's alibi that she was sleeping in his room when Eric died. He remembered being put to bed early without a bath, the master bedroom door being locked, and the TV blaring inside. When he tried to use a broom to reach a key to get in, his mother yelled at him to go away. Today, he told the judge his father can't coach his sports or teach him to drive anymore, and he just wants to feel safe from his own mom.
And then there's the youngest, who expressed feeling hateful and ashamed because his mother took his dad away. He simply wants peace. He just wants to feel relaxed and to be able to trust people again. The prosecution used these statements to argue a really powerful point. Given the tremendous trauma Kouri inflicted on their childhood, the court has to ensure she can never harm their adulthood.
So what does this all mean? We've seen the massive financial motives, the chilling digital trails, and the staggering irony of a murderer writing a book about processing grief. But it leaves us with this haunting realization. The collateral damage of deceit isn't just a loss of life. It's the absolute destruction of innocence. Long after the courtroom doors close and that prison cell locks, we're forced to wonder, how long will it take for the lifelong scars of these 3 young boys to truly heal? Thanks for joining me to unpack this complex explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.